The office of Sudanese Prime Minister Abdalla Hamdok says he has returned home. They announced his release Tuesday. Hamdok was arrested a day earlier by the military. The head of the armed forces, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, says it was done for Hamdok's own protection. Burhan also says the military took control of the government to stop a civil war. The Prime Minister's office says Burhan's actions had nothing to do with the national interest. Meanwhile, the Sudanese Civil Aviation has announced that Khartoum's international airport will reopen on Wednesday. The airport was closed following the ousting of the government by the military.
We want the civil government and are against the military and dictatorial rule. And we will not allow the return of the military rule again to Sudan. But we want a just and democratic civil system that takes into account the interest of the Sudanese people.
We will close the streets until the civil government we want is formed. This is our dear homeland, Sudan, dear to us, and we will not give it up again. And we will not return to military rule again.
Well, earlier we spoke to Naba Muhyiddin, who gave us an update on the events unfolding in Sudan. Let's take a listen.
The Prime Minister didn't issue any direct comment since he was released, but there is confirmed news that he's staying in his house north of Khartoum in Kafuri and guarded by the military and by police and security also, but he didn't make any comment since he was released. The news said all of the officials right now are in the prison. There is no confirmed news that any one of them he was released. And there is other news that more 3 officials were taken yesterday after they talked to some international media, including Sadiq Sadiq, Faiz Silek, and other officials in the Prime Minister's office. The security situation in the country is not clear yet. The military, police, and security are trying to remove the barricades protesters made to block the access for heavy vehicles and for the pickups of the security and military. But the protesters are putting more barricades. All of the businesses are stopped. People are so worried because the internet is still shut down. And there is no news about any compromisement or any negotiations soon. So now it's a tense time. People are waiting for political solutions and for security solutions and for the international community to interfere.
Now let's bring in Tembisa Fakude, a senior research fellow at the Africa-Asia Dialogues. He joins us via Zoom from Johannesburg. Tembisa Fakude, welcome to Africa Live. Thank you for joining us. Help us understand the military's motivation. Tembisa.
Well, the military motivation is to aggregate power. As you know, that the former head of state, Omar al-Bashir, is facing certain very serious challenges at the International Court of Justice and inside Sudan. The 2 leaders of the military, which is one, the former chairperson of the Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and his deputy, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, were part and parcel of that formation. In other words, they were leading Sudan with al-Bashir. So it stands to reason that if Bashir is to face the music, it will make sense not to have the 2 also follow suit, because they were part and parcel of his regime. But importantly, the most powerful person in the leadership currently, Sovereign Council of Sudan, is Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemeti. And Hemeti was the leader of the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed are the people who are currently accused of having committed atrocities and crimes in Sudan over the years, so particularly in Darfur. So it stands to reason, therefore, that Omar al-Bashir won't be the only one held accountable for all the atrocities that have taken place. And I think this is all about ensuring that they aggregate those power, and in future they can dictate the political trajectory of that country.
Compelling points that you've made there. Now, you have previously stated in an article you wrote for Africa-Asia Dialogues that the role of external actors in Sudan must not be underestimated. Can you tell us more about this?
Well, the main culprit, in inverted commas, is the United Arab Emirates under the leadership of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed, which has got an ambition of expanding the Dubai ports world. So in other words, they want to dominate the maritime business around the world. And Sudan is one of those countries that they've been looking at We know that the UAE has been involved from the beginning with Dagalo, particularly in ensuring that Omar al-Bashir was toppled and replaced by the current system. So they're playing that role, and mainly they're motivated by business. But there's a new entrant in Sudan's political business, and that is Israel. Israel's role in Sudan must also not be underestimated. They've got big ambitions of ensuring that they control the sway, particularly political sway at multilateral platforms. So all of these new players, we have to take into consideration their involvement. And you have Egypt and Ethiopia, of course, because the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam remains a big challenge. So Ethiopia is one of those external players. I'm not quite sure whether they're involved at this time around, but Egypt, Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates, and Israel are those countries that we need to look at moving forward.
All right, Thembisa, in light of all that you said, the external actors and the players, where do you see this current crisis going?
Well, the current crisis is going to go ahead. I mean, we know that Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has mentioned that the elections are likely to take place in July 2023. So we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, you have to deal with the pressure that's been exerted at the moment by the northeastern tribes, particularly the six Beja tribes in the northeastern part of Sudan, have continued to disturb the flow of goods into the Sudan hinterland. So that's one. But also we need to remember that there are two protests taking place in Sudan at the moment. One is a pro-civilian government protest, which in other words, want the civilian government to be reinstated as part of the Sovereign Council. And we have the other one that has been calling for the disillusionment of the current Sovereign Council. So those two, I think, are likely to butt heads moving forward. And the politics, or their respective politics, are also likely to determine either the flavor of the current ruling elite, or, you know, they might just also encourage the community to protest even further.
All right, Thembisa Fakude, thank you for shedding light on that with your analysis. Much appreciated.